Welcome to Big Butts No Lies. I'm Mavi, your go-to guide for everything plastic surgery. With 18 years in the industry working alongside top board-certified plastic surgeons, I know what really goes down: the good, the bad, and the botched. Now I work for you, bringing you real, unbiased info to help you make the best choices for your dream look. Whether you're going for subtle enhancements or a full on transformation, I'm here to give you the facts, the tips, and the confidence to navigate your surgery journey. Let's get into it. Should be fun. Hey guys, do I have the show for you today? I am so excited about today's guest. You are in for a treat. We're going to be talking with Miroslava De Leon from Houston, Texas. We're in my home city, and you guys are y'all ready for this? We're going to talk about scar camouflaging and medical tattoos. Hello, how are you? Thank you for being on the show with me.
Hi, Mavi. I'm so excited to get this opportunity to talk about what I do. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to just dive into it because I feel it's super interesting to me. Not just the scar camouflaging, but the 3D nipple tattoos. Breast cancer patients have a very special place in my heart. And I just love seeing their face in your videos when they're like so happy.
Thank you. It's absolutely an honor to be able to help the community and help women who have gone through such a traumatic event like breast cancer, where unfortunately sometimes they do lose the nipples and the areolas. And to be able to give back with the 3D areola tattooing is just absolutely a blessing to be able to help women.
I love it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about you, kind of how did you even get into medical tattoos, and what background experience do you have to give them such life?
Absolutely. So I have been doing paramedical tattooing for almost 7 years now. I really wanted to be able to help women feel empowered. So I decided to take a career change. I come from corporate, so I haven't been doing paramedical tattooing my whole life, but it was a calling. It really started also with a personal interest. I wanted to get a breast reduction. And at the time, I was really young, and the doctors really kind of talked me out of it. They're like, "Well, you're going to have very large scarring. You're so young. We don't recommend it." But for me, it was a necessity. My back would hurt. I was always very top heavy, so I knew I needed to find an option. So I just went down this rabbit hole searching about, scar treatments, and nothing really caught my eye. Of course, we have the lasers and we have different techniques for scarring, but um, when I learned about scar camouflage, it really caught my attention, and I knew that that was my calling to be able to help women in general to be able to feel more confident in their skin after surgery.
I love it. Scar camouflaging has been on my radar for years. You and I know we've been trying to put this together for a few
Oh,
years.
yes.
So I feel like finally we can go all into it, because when we're talking about scar camouflaging, you it's all types of scars. So you
Oh,
do tummy tuck
absolutely.
scars, breast scars, facial scars, I'm sure. So why don't you tell me, I mean, girl, give me your spiel. I want to hear it.
Yeah, so absolutely. So scar camouflage really, what it is tattooing skin tone color. When scars are lighter, so hypopigmentation, when the scar has finally matured and there's kind of like a white area left behind, there's really nothing in the market that will cover the scar. There's nothing that once the scar has turned white, it basically lost the melanin due to the trauma of the surgical area, and there's nothing that can restore that melanin back in the scar. So really, scar camouflage is basically it's a permanent solution and really the only solution out in the market to help conceal those scars. whether it's a facelift scar, whether it's a tummy tuck scar, whether it's a breast lift reduction, any type of scar, we can cover. So it's really amazing, and it's really such a unique technique to be able to put color back in the scar when it's hypopigmented. So basically concealing it, making it look less visible, and really just bringing back that confidence after surgery. Because I meet amazing women that have, an amazing body, but yet they don't want to show their bodies, in a bikini, or they're so self conscious about the scars, and they think it's going to be very visible. So you deserve to feel good in your body after the investment you've made, and you should absolutely be able to rock your body. So it's been absolutely amazing. So yes, we treat the scars once they're fully healed. We never want to treat the scars prematurely. The scar is going to be very sensitive. It's not going to take the pigment. The color hasn't fully settled. So we never really want to work scars when they're premature. So I always say minimum of 1 year. Now it could be a little bit further for some patients, and it could be, I've had patients that by the 9 month mark, the scar is completely healed and it's white. So that's an indicator that the scar is fully mature and we are ready to start putting color back in. Now, also we have hyperpigmented scars. So it's basically the opposite of when a scar is white. Basically in here is the body has produced more melanin. So now the scar looks a little bit darker than the surrounding skin tone. I also treat those scars. It's more an advanced technique. It's very specialized because here we're not matching the skin tone color anymore. We have to neutralize the darkness of that scar. So it's a very advanced technique. It is possible, but it does take more sessions because it's darker. It's not a light scar where you'll be able to see results immediately. So it takes patience, and it takes multiple sessions to be able to get to the point where we want. But I promise you, if you hang in there and if you're patient, we'll get you the results that you're looking for.
So, how many sessions does it usually take? And
You know, that's
what does that even look like?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's like the most common question that people want to know, like, hey, how many sessions am I going to need? And it really depends on the contrast of the scar to the skin tone. So if you are more of a, if you're very fair and the scar is light, it'll take about 2 sessions, right, to get that fully covered because we don't have a lot of contrast between the scar and the skin. Now, if you have a dark scar and you're very fair, well, that's going to take more sessions. So I always say minimum 2 to 3 sessions, but it really depends per individual because sometimes too, it depends on the texture of the scar. We only see the surface, we can't see what's underneath the scar and the scar tissue underneath. So dealing with scars and tattooing them is a lot more difficult than traditional tattooing because traditional tattooing, for the most part, you're dealing with healthy skin that hasn't been compromised, it hasn't gone through a traumatic event. So when we're dealing with scars, the retention of that pigment is going to be a lot less because it's scar tissue we're dealing with. So it really depends per individual. I always say minimum 2 to 3 sessions are going to be needed. And then from there, I can see how your skin is taking it, and then we'll take it a session at a time. In between sessions, I do ask anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. We want to make sure that the skin has fully healed. We don't want to cause excess trauma that's not needed. And I really want to see the pigment once the body has metabolized it so that I can see how it fully healed.
I love it. I love it. I want to get into the 3D tattoos. I the technique, it's actually art. I feel like it's such artistry to get the 3D tattoo, and they look so real. They look so natural. At
Thank you,
least your
Mavi.
work, your work that I've seen.
Thank you so much. So with the 3D areola tattooing, it is a very specialized technique because the goal here is to make it look natural. So we want to make it look realistic as possible. We don't want it to look like a tattoo, and it really does depend on the technique. And really here we're working with lights and shadows. So in order for something to look 3D, like it's projecting or protruding, we want to make sure that we understand how light is reflected and also the shadows. So it's all about understanding where the light source comes from and where that shadow is. And that really is going to make it look like it's protruding. And that nipple, even though sometimes they don't have a nipple, we can really make it look like it's 3D. So it's really about lights and shadows. But Mavi, a lot of people think that the 3D tattooing is just for breast cancer patients, and I'm so happy that I get to be on your platform to raise awareness. And I think it's something that's not spoken so much on behalf of just cosmetic surgery. So I've seen women where they've lost the entire nipple and areola just due to necrosis or due to an infection that happened after surgery. So I feel like there's not enough awareness and there's not enough um, people talking about what are the options after that happens. So it's absolutely 3D areola tattooing. It's for anybody who has gone through any breast surgery, whether it's breast cancer or whether it's cosmetic. And if you've lost it, we can definitely restore it with the tattooing technique. So it's something that's so, so unique. And it's such a privilege to be able to do and to help women because I know how that impacts their mental health. And, it really, the stories I hear from women, the way that they refer to themselves, or they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror and they turn off the light. So it really does affect your mental health. But it's absolutely such an honor to be able to help just breast cancer patients and any kind of individual that benefits from the service to be able to provide that 3D tattooing. It's just their reactions on their face after. It's just there's no words for it.
I bet. I bet. You brought up such a good point. And I'm definitely going to take the opportunity to talk about it. This is something that has actually been on my mind quite a bit in the last few weeks. And what that is the amount of times that people have complications from surgery. Like, I feel like there's this idea that you can have surgery and everything turns out fine, and the biggest part is the recovery. But the biggest complication is your incisions. There's times when your incisions heal really terribly. You have sutures that are getting pushed out. Sometimes you'll have a small wound of usually it's a stitch, like trying to poke through the skin. There's infections that can cause necrosis. There's necrosis just where something did not get the adequate blood flow that it needed. Sometimes that's nipples, sometimes that's tummy tucks. I'm sure you've seen those tummy tuck incisions where it's like this big because they had some sort of big complication, and they had to do a wound vac or something like that. So I want to take this opportunity to anybody who's listening. And if you've had plastic surgery and your incisions healed well and you didn't really have any issues, and your biggest problem is how symmetrical you look, or, they didn't take out enough fat, or you wish you were tighter, or whatever, like just the fact that your incisions closed and healed perfectly is such a win. And I think if people knew the real things that we're seeing, the complications that we see people have where they lose their whole nipple, literally, like doing a breast lift and the areola doesn't get blood flow and it turns black and flakes off and dies. And that is a very real thing that happens. People, even with the great surgeon, even with doing everything right, nobody did anything wrong. It's just how things happened. Something happened.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes I do you made a very valid point, and I do sometimes I hear patients like, well, they kind of blame the surgeon, and I always like to take the opportunity to remind them that it happens to the best of surgeons because I've seen it where they come and tell me so and so was my surgeon, and I know that they do absolutely amazing work, and I don't think it's fair to bash the surgeon because it's internal. A doctor can't predict how you're going to heal, how your skin is going to react to the surgery, so I think it's really unfair to blame the surgeon for stuff like this that happens, but I think it comes with not being educated, right? Not being educated of what can happen and the complications. But just know that we're here to help. Whatever happened, was it an infection or necrosis or, I've seen it all. So whatever the complication might be, just know that there's options out there. which I think that's the most important thing of is knowing what can you do after. There's nothing you can do anymore after it's happened, but it's just to know that there's options out there. Definitely that's empowering.
You that's a really good point because I feel like sometimes when a complication arises or something doesn't come out perfect from the surgery, women tend to go down this sad, not pity party, but like I wish it was better, like dwelling on the on
Or
it.
almost regretting, right? Like I shouldn't have gotten the surgery because I hear that all the time. Like, once the scar, they're not happy with how the scar looked. And I think they look amazing because I look at scars all day, right? So when they come in, I'm like, wow, like your scar is beautiful. Like it's an easy fix. Or like, my scar is so ugly, and like they just refer to themselves as so negative. But just keep in mind that with any surgery there's going to be scars. So I think women kind of have regrets after, like, oh my god, I shouldn't have done this, I should have just stayed the way I was if I knew my scar was going to heal this way. But it's so hard to predetermine how a scar is going to heal, and sometimes it's the same body, but one side of the breast heals different than the other, right? So it's crazy because it's the same surgeon, but yet there's different scars because it's two, even though it's the same person, it's two different areas. So I've seen it all the time where one side heals beautiful and the other side just has little things, or vice versa with the areolas. One is smaller than the other, and that's something that we can also do with tattooing. After surgery, sometimes, with the stitches, one will look a little bit smaller than the other, and we can really focus on symmetry. So we can actually make them look more leveled. We can round out the shape. A lot, oftentimes with, the reduction or lift, when the areola has to be replaced, it's no longer that perfect circle, or you have the kind of like the little stitches on the side that you can see. So it's not about just, the whole 3D. It's just about harmonizing that areola where it looks just more, we just enhance the shape. So even for patients that haven't had surgery, I have, sometimes I get questions like, well, I haven't had a surgery, I don't have scars, but I just want to enhance, my areolas. Absolutely, we can do that too. There's so much that can be done with medical tattooing, but I feel like there's so much more that, I need to do a better job about posting and educating what really can be done.
You really do. I think you're doing a great job, but also just bringing awareness to it. Like we can do something for our scars. I think that's super important. I also really love that you are a instructor, that you teach, that this is something that you're showing other people how to do. I think that's really amazing and empowering.
Absolutely. I love teaching this. I know when I started, I had to leave the country because no one really was doing it here in the US.
So
So
how did you learn? How was that
so
process for
I
you?
I traveled to Colombia. So I really wanted to go to Brazil, but there was a language barrier. The instructor only spoke Portuguese. So I speak Spanish. I'm bilingual. Portuguese is a little bit similar to Spanish, but not exactly the same. So I knew that it was going to be a language barrier. So I just kept researching, and I found an academy in Colombia that had trained with that instructor that I had really liked, and they were certified to teach his technique. So I went to Colombia for a week, and that's where I learned the scar stretch mark camouflage. And then I just continued taking courses, and then I learned about the areola tattooing, the 3D, and I went to Mexico City for that. So I've taken a lot of trainings, international, local, and I keep taking advanced training because I love to learn. I'm an instructor, and I feel like my students deserve the best, and so do my patients. So I'm all about continuing education because techniques are constantly improving. There's better pigments on the market, there's better machines, there's better needles. So for me, I'm a huge advocate on, if you want to succeed, you have to keep educating yourself because one class is not enough to basically master everything. So I know how it felt when I first got started. I had to leave the country, I had so many questions. So I've developed basically a training for students to be able to dive in, to really, really have an understanding of what can be done with scar and stretch mark camouflage, as well as the areola tattooing. And basically, I pour everything that I have learned throughout the years to be able to help students because I have people from all over to come and see me. So I know there's a need for other people to be able to offer this because it's such a special uh, niche. We have a lot of like the permanent makeup, right? So the brow artists and the lips and all that. But I feel like with medical tattooing, there's not enough people doing it. So I want to be able to help others and for all of us to grow. I always get asked, well, you're training your competition. Why would you do that? I'm like, there's room for everyone. I want to see others succeed, right? And if they succeed, I succeed. So we can all succeed together. So yes, I absolutely love to teach and to be able to give opportunities to others as well. It's been amazing.
You know what, Miroslava, I want to talk about something that I've actually been toying around with this idea of, um, for me, right? I'm 36. I just turned 36. I had a career change at 29. At 29, I think, or 30. During my Saturn return, I quit my patient coordinator job to launch my show, to do something completely not what I was doing, similar, but in a different avenue. And I want to highlight how empowering and how to other women who are listening to this show, you talked about having a career shift from corporate. And I feel like that is something just so empowering and just so like, look, like you don't have to continue doing what you were doing just because it's what you've been doing forever. Like you can decide to get up and change and I'm going to do something different now and learn something and master it and become an instructor in it and educate other women and empower other people. And I just think that is that's so powerful. I would love for you to talk about it. How was that for you?
Absolutely. Well, of course, it was scary. To be completely honest, it was scary, but I'm a business major. So I was in supply chain for 6 years. So I'm an Aggie. I graduated from A&M, class of 2015. So crazy 10 years ago that it's been since I graduated college. I worked at petrochemical for 6 years. I worked downtown. And, at the time, that was my dream. I wanted to work downtown. I would see these women in suits, and I just felt like that was empowering, right? I'm like, I want to do that, right? So after college, I was blessed to have landed my dream job in, downtown with all the skyscrapers. And that got old really fast, right? After playing dress up for a whole year and wearing heels, I was over it.
You're
I'm
like,
like,
I'm done
yeah,
with
I
this.
was over it. I'm like, I don't see myself doing this, for much longer. And the thing is, Mavi, I didn't feel that fulfillment within my heart. I was putting out fires, yes, with corporate, and with supply chain, and I worked a lot with sales. So I would help their customers, and I worked in the polymers division, which is like resin. So we had a lot of the customers that, automotive and anything that had to do with plastic. So I was helping that end, putting out fires, but to me it wasn't meaningful. I knew that I had chosen that as a career, but I'm like, man, I really want to help people and I want to empower people. And how can I change my career? And I would see the emails come in from 35-year anniversary, and I'm like, that cannot be me. Like, I would be miserable. That cannot be me. I'm like, I have to do something different. But I didn't know what I wanted, right? I think I manifested this career without even knowing it was out there because I'm like, I want to be able to take control of my time and my schedule. And you're restricted to how many days you can leave when you work for somebody, right? And you sick days, and it's just so many things that I knew that I wanted to change for myself and for my future career. And I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. This medical tattooing. And I feel like I manifested a career that I didn't even know was out there with the opportunities that I have been given with this career. I'm absolutely incredibly grateful. And I never thought in a million years that I would be able to do what I do and absolutely love it. I love what I do. I can do it every single day and I don't get bored. I don't get tired. And I get to do this too. When when you love what you do and you can do it for free. So when I go to conferences or when I do trainings and I ask for models, I give this back to the community for free. And I love to be able to do that because I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. So I knew I needed a change in corporate. I was just really unhappy. There was times where I would cry in the parking garage because I didn't want to go into work. I'm like, I just know like it's gonna be such a hectic day, and supply chain never stops. Supply chain is 24/7. I was on call during Christmas, during New Year's. I never really got a break, and it was just putting out fires every single day. And to me, that was exhausting, and I didn't feel that fulfillment. So I thought about going to nursing school. I'm like, I really want to help people, and I always liked just being able to help. But I'm like, who am I kidding? I'm a business major. I don't have any of the health prerequisites. I was still paying my student loans. So I'm like, well, I can't get in debt all over again because I have bills to pay now. So I'm like, well, that's not really the best option. And when I learned about medical tattooing, it was just such a moment where I'm like, I want to do this. Like it was just like this is for me. Like it was an instant calling, and I knew that I wanted to take off with it. And here's the thing, Mavi, when I told my parents, I'm like, I'm gonna go to Colombia to take this training for tattooing, they're like, what? You're crazy. Like tattooing, like you have a career and you have a good job and you have benefits. And I'm like, it's not like traditional tattooing. Like I'm not gonna be, drawing butterflies and dragons. Like it's gonna be like medical. And at the time, nobody really understood, because here's the thing: when you have a vision, it's yours and it's nobody else's. So sometimes we expect people to understand, and they're not, because it's your vision, right? So you have to stay true to yourself and you have to keep going. So they're like, oh, you're crazy. Like, you're going to go to Colombia? Like, it's dangerous. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I'm going, for the training, and it's going to be just a 1 week thing. So I went forward with it. I'm like, I'm doing this regardless of what anybody thinks or what anybody has to
Whether
say.
I have your support or not.
Exactly, exactly. Whether I have your support or not, like I'm doing this and I know this is what I want to do. So that's how I got started. And then the funny part is, when I quit corporate, I was embarrassed to say what I was gonna do. Which now I regret it, because I'm like, this is such an empowering thing to do for others. So whenever I spoke to my manager, she's like, well, why are you quitting? They really didn't want me to leave. And I'm grateful to have left the doors open, because you never know. I'm like, well, what about if I can't make a living off of this? Which the first 2 years I took a huge loss because I wasn't making any money. It was a lot of investment. It was a learning curve. So, being an entrepreneur, you have to keep in mind that it's not going to be immediate results, right? You really have to stick through it, through the ups and downs, and you have to keep pushing. But when I left corporate, I was so not self-conscious, but almost like, what are people going to say about me, right? What are people going to think? And I was just that fear of being judged. Like, oh my God, she's going to be a tattoo artist. Like, she's going to be tattooing nipples. But now that I look back, and I'm like, it takes courage to leave what you're doing and to start something from scratch. It takes a lot of courage, and I was so scared. I really was so scared, and I'm gonna get so emotional just looking back at
I feel
everything.
you, girl. I was already tearing
Yeah,
up with
like
you because I'm
it's
like, I hear you. I hear myself in your story. I hear myself
um
in
yeah.
your
So
book.
my supervisor was like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what do you mean? You don't have a job. Like, the first thing they want to know is, are you going to our competitors, right? Are you like, are you going to Chevron? Are you going to Shell or Exxon? Like, where are you going? Because you will be escorted at that moment. And I was like, and I just need time to think about what I want to do. And this was during November. And she was such a supportive manager. And she was like, okay, like, let's do this. She said, we're gonna pretend like we didn't have this conversation. She's like, you take the rest of the year off and you come back in the new year once you are refreshed. She's like, we can talk about because she's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to move positions? Do you want to become a manager? Like, what do you want to do? She really was trying to keep me. And that's an honor too, to be able to see that they really value your work and they value what you do. But I just knew it wasn't fair for myself and for the company, because I was no longer giving it my 100%. And I'm the kind of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give the best of me in whatever I do. So I wasn't fair for them, and it wasn't fair for me either. But I left corporate not saying, what I was going to do. And I haven't looked back ever since then.
I love it. I love it. It's such an empowering story. And I want my listeners to hear it and to think, hey, I can do that too. I can make a change too.
Absolutely.
I'm
No
not
matter
happy at this
what it
either.
is, we live in an era, mommy, where opportunities that we have now were not available back then, right? Back then it was you had to go to college and you had to kind of work for somebody or work corporate to be successful. And we live in an era where opportunities, you create them yourself. You create your career path. College no longer defines your success. Because let me tell you, what I learned in college, I didn't even apply at my corporate job. You learn on the job, right? So it's not I don't think college is a metric for success or that we measure how successful you're going to be. It's really about, what do you want to do? Do you believe in yourself enough to do it? And are you going to be able to stick with it through the ups and downs? Because it's going to be bumpy and you know it. You know it too. Coming from, you used to work, as a coordinator, and it's a huge change. It's an adjustment. And no one's telling you what to do anymore. You have to be self-driven and you have to be consistent and you have to push yourself, but you're always going to look, if you don't make a change and if you're unhappy, you're always going to think about, what if I would have done it, right? What matters if you fail? If you fail, you learn something and you're like, well, it wasn't for me. So if you want to, for the listeners, absolutely do what you want to do. Take that risk, make that career change, and you will not regret it.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I feel like having a career shift, having a career change, looking for different opportunities goes hand in hand with the glow up after having plastic surgery. Because,
Absolutely.
because I've talked about this very openly about how my surgery, I had surgery, a mommy makeover back in 2017. And after I had my surgery, it gave me the the confidence to believe in myself that I can do whatever it is that I am putting my heart into. I've talked about this on the show before that. Before I launched my show, I went through so many like uncertainties because I'm not a plastic surgeon. Like, are they going to listen to me when I'm not even a plastic surgeon? Like, how are they even going to find me? What value do I have to offer to anybody? And it was so much soul searching and so much like sitting down and just pouring my heart out into notebooks of like, this is who I want to be and this is what I want to be in the world and this is who I want to help. And I like I've said this 1,000 times, my launching my show completely changed my life. And I would have never felt confident enough to go through with it if I hadn't had my surgery first. My surgery helped me regain my confidence in myself and then be able to present myself to the world without being shy or like fear of being judged, right? Like that fear of being judged, I think stops us from living our best lives because we're like, what are they going to say? I got divorced right before I went, during this whole time, I also got divorced. And fear of what other people are going to say is like number one happening in my brain at that time of like, oh my God, like they're going to say I left my husband because I had surgery and I did this. And now who does she think she is? And all of these like limiting beliefs that I had.
Right, right.
And so when I hear stories of like pivoting and career changes and just going for your dreams, it just lights me up so much. I get goosebumps. I get teary eyed because I'm like, I love
You've
to
been there.
hear
You
it.
know what it feels like. And
Exactly.
and you made such a good point that plastic surgery empowers. I think I think it's just, it comes from just old mindsets. And I think like our parents, like that kind of age, like, oh my god, like what is your aunt gonna think if you do this, and what is your grandparents gonna say? Like it was such a negative connotation with plastic surgery. But plastic surgery, and I think you made such a good point, that it gave you the confidence to be able to launch your own business. So that is something so empowering and so important, because you want to be the best version of yourself, and plastic surgery helped you attain that. So I am a pro, like for surgery. I always say, do it for you. If something bothers you, we are lucky that we live in such a time that there's so many things we can do, right? So I'm like, if you don't like it, go fix it. Do it for yourself, not because somebody told you, not because so and so. Like, do it for yourself. And there's nothing more empowering that you can do, is to make that decision for yourself and to feel the best version of yourself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with plastic surgery. Plastic surgery has so many positive impacts on your mental health, the way you look in the mirror, and hand in hand, it comes with the scar camouflage, right? Like after the surgery, well, let's take it a little bit further and let's make you feel the best version of yourself by concealing that scar and by covering it. You made such a great point that it empowered you and it uplifted you to be able to do this. And you mentioned that if you hadn't done it, you probably wouldn't have gone through with doing this. And for
With
you, it
launching
changed
my
your whole
store.
life, just
Yeah.
because you went through with the surgery. So I love that for you. I'm so happy that you did it.
Thank you.
I love that.
Another thing I want to touch on, I'm thinking back on our conversation, and right before we started recording, you mentioned that you've been in Houston your whole life, but you weren't born here. And so are you a first gen? Okay, so I also feel like having that first gen uh mindset, because my parents also, my, I'm a first gen, and when they got here, they were, both of my parents are in business owners. My mom has hair salons and she's a beauty instructor, and my dad has a construction company that he's been running for years. But when I was growing up, it was get a job where you have benefits, like find corporate job, find somewhere where it's a steady environment, steady income. Like for them, they were pushing me towards the American dream in their mind, right, of like steady work. But once I was there and I was looking back, I'm like, but you guys don't do this, and you're at home on Tuesday mornings and I'm at work. And I had to kind of come back from that, of them pushing me towards that direction, to coming back to being an entrepreneur, which is what they both are. They're both entrepreneurs. But I think it's so funny because they're like pushing me towards what they think is the
What's a
safest.
safer option for you?
Exactly, exactly. So I think I heard that in your story as well.
Yeah, so funny story too. Like my dad had his own meat market in Mexico. And just for a few years, and then they decided they wanted the American dream, right? So they moved us to the US, and I came here when I was 4. So that's why I say I've pretty much been here my whole life, because I started school here. I really can't remember my childhood, in Mexico. But absolutely, my dad had a meat market there in Mexico, and he was very successful with it. But he's like, it's a lot of work, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you don't get to clock out at 5 p.m., right? And on the weekends, you're constantly like, I should be doing something for my business. So it's kind of the same thing when I told them that I wanted a career change. They're like, why? Like you went to college, right? You have you pretty much like you're doing things, yeah, you're doing things the right way, and you have a pension and you have a 401k and you have health benefits. Because that's one thing, when you become an entrepreneur, those health benefits are gone, and it's so expensive to be able to have health benefits. So they knew everything that came with it. They're like, well, have you really thought about it? I'm like, I am taking the risk because I'm not happy doing what I do. And I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I can't see myself, like, I would literally dread going into work. And I'm like, I don't want to do this for myself. But there's so many rewards that come with it too. So I would rather work 12 hours a day doing what I do than work 8, 9 hours in corporate. But I think it is, It's a risk, right? It's a risk that you take, but it also comes with the
Immense
rewards.
rewards.
Yeah,
So much
absolutely.
rewards. I know for myself, I was actually having a conversation with my daughter who's 11, and we were talking about what she wants to do, what like in her now she's in 6th grade, and they're talking about career paths and setting them up for what they want to do when they get older. And I was telling her, like, whatever, I support you in whatever you decide to do. I hope at one point in our lives you can decide to be a poet and it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Like, you can do whatever you want. But I told her, whatever it is that you do decide to do, I hope it's something that you really enjoy. And I was
Mhm.
sitting here at my desk and I was working on something, and it was like a Saturday afternoon, and it was like kind of everybody was doing their own thing, having fun. Like my daughter was doing something, my son was doing something, and I was just working on something, and I was like excited. I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "This is so exciting! Like, I'm gonna do it like this, and then I'm gonna change this." And it was just such a. I was having like a creativity rush, and I was telling her. She came in here, and I was like, "Because when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. Like, you think I'm working because I'm sitting at my desk and I'm typing. But to me, this is fun. Like, I love doing this and this is exciting for me. So it doesn't feel like work. And that to me is like what I wish for my kids.
Yeah, it's like the saying, right? Like if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And you don't really truly understand that until you're doing it. So to be able to reflect back on what you said, absolutely. Like you could be doing this on a Saturday night at, 10 p.m. And for you, like it's not work, it's what you love to do. So absolutely, I agree. It's a lot of work that comes with it. There is no, 9 to 5 clocking out. And then when you're a small business owner, you wear all hats, right? So you're the marketing person, you're the admin, like it's you wear so many hats. So many hats that come with, and now social media is such a big thing. So I feel like that's just another full-time job on its own. So, but it's so rewarding.
So one thing I wanted to touch on, because I'm curious to see if you're having these issues like the surgeons are having, which is getting
Flagged.
flagged for your
Yes.
nipples.
So my account was restricted for over a year. I really couldn't post. It's very discouraging to not be able to show your work, because I follow Instagram's guidelines. Instagram's guidelines, you are allowed to post mastectomy photos. And you know what? It's so frustrating, but also it's such a compliment to have my work flagged because they think it's a real nipple. So I'm like, you
You're
know
like,
what?
that is so good.
Yes, I'm like, you know what? They think it looks so real, but it's a tattoo, and I specifically say, like, please do not report. This is a post mastectomy areola tattoo, and they still flag it, which I've appealed it to the board. Um, and it took over a year to have my account restored. I really thought I was going to lose my account. And it's just so frustrating because you work so hard, right, in your social media. It's like your portfolio for people to see, right? They go into your Instagram page and they're like, okay, like this is her work. It's kind of like a portfolio of the work you do. And to have that restricted and they classify it as nudity and as sexual content, it's so frustrating because it's discouraging. I'm like, well, if I keep posting, my account is going to get taken down. And all the years that I took to build what I have now is going to be taken away, right? Just because of my work. So it's been a hassle. And recently, maybe like 3 days ago, I had a post that was over a year and a half old. It got flagged. And I'm like, I don't know if it's a bot. I don't know if it's a competition that's, reporting it. But I'm like, I train. Like, come take my training. I'll help you. Let's be great together, right? Like, stop reporting my stuff. Like, I'll help you get to where you need to be. So it's been really, really frustrating to have that restricted. And I think, I don't know, I've tried to reach out to the board directly. I have never been able to talk to someone directly. I don't know if it's just bots, but it's just the algorithm with Instagram has been so frustrating, because then your reach is limited, or they want you to censor the images. I'm like, well, this is the whole point. People need to be need to see. If I censor the image, they're not going to be able to see the work. And how is that really helping, the community see the options that are out there? So yes, I have the same issue that plastic surgeons do. I don't know if there's a workaround. If you know, please let me know.
There, so what they're for our listeners, I know you guys are also wondering where are the before and after pictures. Like a lot of surgeons are not even posting them, or what they're doing is creating a different Instagram page that is just for before and afters. So they don't post those images on their Instagram, their regular page where they have all of their followers, but they'll start a secondary page and link it at the top on their profile, like so and so's before and afters. And that way, if that account gets flagged, it's not their main account, it's just the before and after account.
That's a great suggestion. It's a lot of work, right, to have another page,
I
but
know, right?
but
But
definitely it minimizes the risk of losing your
your
actual
main
account.
account, yeah,
Yeah.
of losing your main account. So that's the workaround I've seen them do, just creating a second Instagram. Also just bombarding their websites with photos. So if somebody does find them on Instagram, they can just go to their website and see all the before and afters. So I think create a second Instagram page and upload all of your before and afters to your website.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Definitely we'll have to do
Working on that.
that. One thing I do want to touch on, Mavi, for the listeners, I get asked a lot of questions whether I want to point out that scar camouflage and areola tattooing, it's non-invasive. So sometimes I get called like, "Hey, does my husband need to drive me? Am I going to be able to walk myself?" Or so it's
They've never had a tattoo.
the what?
They've never had a
They've
tattoo.
never had a tattoo, right? And it's the word medical tattooing to them. They feel like it's going to be like some kind of like a surgical procedure, or is there's going to be like, cutting, but it's not invasive. It's a very gentle procedure. Actually, a lot of people, not most people don't really feel it. So here's the thing. When we're working with scars, that nerve ending, they've been cut. So the sensation is a lot less than, traditional, normal skin. And I work with nano needles, like they're super fine needles. It's a very gentle procedure. I think there's just this myth that it's gonna hurt because traditional tattoos hurt, and I think there's just the way that they've been trained, and then just the way traditional tattoos are, they're more heavy-handed. They're going in a lot deeper than what's needed. We really just need to be in that upper layer of the dermis to keep the tattoo permanent. That's all. So it's really, we don't really have to damage the skin as much. So I just want people to know that it's not painful. It's a very gentle procedure. You can definitely drive yourself to and from the appointment. And the only restrictions are, no direct sun exposure for 30 days, no submerging in water, and then no working out for a whole week. We don't want that excess heat from working out, or the sweat can cause infections. We really want to mitigate, and we want to minimize any risk of infection. But it's a very gentle procedure. Everyone that I've come, they're like, "Oh my God, I thought it was going to be, I was expecting a lot worse." So, you know, be rest assured that it's not a painful procedure. It's non-invasive. We're not cutting the skin. We're just tattooing it.
So before I let you go, one of my last questions is, um, how much does it usually cost? Like for our listeners who are listening from around across the country, if they are looking for a tattoo or a scar camouflage, or if they want to come see you, what is the average cost for, like, for example, tell me what it would cost to do like a breast scar camouflage versus a tummy tuck camouflage.
Right. Okay. Great question. So the way I like to price it is per area, depending on whether it's a small or a large area. So like a full tummy tuck scar that goes from hip to hip is considered large. That is 900, and that includes one touch up. So you come back for the touch up. If you need additional sessions, it's 400 after. I won't charge you the 900 again. We take it session by session. Now, if you have just this very small vertical scar going down, right, just from your breast, I would consider that small for both, and that's 700. But it really depends on, now if you have the whole anchor scar on both breasts, now that's considered large. The areola is a different procedure too. So it's 800 for bilateral for both and 400 for one. So depending on what you're needing, and that also includes a touch-up. So it's very affordable, um, and it's permanent. You get to, these results are going to be permanent. There's no yearly touch-ups. A lot of people are like, well, am I going to have to touch this up every year? Once we get the desired coverage, we recommend a touch-up every 5 to 7 years as a color booster, but really it's permanent.
I love that. So for my girls who are listening who are so scared of that anchor scar, there's some solutions out there. You don't have to be scared of the anchor scar because, like women are afraid of that anchor scar during the breast lift. So they try to like get away with not needing a breast lift or just
They
avoid
go
it.
for the bigger implant and then they regret it years down the road because I see it all the time. I didn't want the scars, so I got a bigger implant, and now they go and do an explant. So it just get the lift, get the reduction, and I am more than happy to help you with the scars.
I love it. Thank you so much, Miroslava. Tell us how we can get a hold of you.
So you can find me on Instagram. My username is concealtouch_ by Miroslava. You can also find me. I have a website, www.concealtouch.com. I think I shared my phone number with you, 832-433-2191. You can call me directly. I'm more than happy to chat with you, answer your questions. And one thing that I always encourage people to do is to ask questions. I love it when people come to me prepared with questions. I'm like, oh, they're committed. Like they know what they want and they've done their research. Don't feel like you're bothering me. I love it when you come prepared with questions. Make sure that you're going to someone that knows what they're doing. So that's I really think that's important because I've seen botch work, and sometimes it can't be corrected. So just make sure you're going to someone that specializes in this.
Perfect. Okay, you guys. So you heard that here. And with that, I'll see y'all next week. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank you,
show.
Mavi. It was such an honor.
Thinking about plastic surgery, but you don't know where to start? I've got you. With 18 years in the industry and experience working with top board certified plastic surgeons, I help women like you make informed and confident decisions. Whether you need help choosing a surgeon, planning your recovery, or understanding what to expect, I've got your back. Skip the guesswork and get expert guidance by booking a call with me today. That's a wrap for this episode of Big Butts No Lies. If you found this episode helpful, do me a favor and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who's considering plastic surgery. Until next time, stay confident, stay informed, and remember, big butts don't lie.